What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and you're here for another episode of the Facts Project. Today, I have two very special guests here, Stephanie Williams and James Emmett. We are here to talk about a celebration of most for this particular book that's going to be dropping next month in Bytchcraft issue 1 for Mad Cave Studios. So thank you both for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So to discuss this in form, of course, the one person that we're basically trying to channel as far as like how this story has basically evolved is the story of Aaron Reese and how this book came to be. For one, I would like to ask exactly how this story came about, because I know firsthand, because Aaron used to he used to write for Comics Alliance, and he used to write about the betterment of Black supervillains. There was one particular article that it was very short, but I read in detail, and I always like brought that up in discussion a lot. But the discussions of magic, the discussions of the supernatural, and how this evolution, how this came about. If you have a chance, a summary to basically bring this forward, how to discuss how Aaron basically put this as kind of like his baby, his project that he wanted to bring to the world.
Yeah, so Aaron would like frequently talk about how he wanted to make something and have something out in the world that he could not find. So he loved the craft. I am blanking on not the movie with Michael B. Jordan where they get powers. The other movie, it came out around the same time. It was with the guys. They're also like,
Oh, the gay one. Sort of gay, queer.
Got you.
Sebastian Stan, was
Covenant,
it?
Covenant,
Coven.
right? Yes, Covenant. Okay, so those like movies like that, and Buffy wanting to kind of see this witchery, but make it Black and queer.
Mhm.
And then also like just like myself, he had grew up in the church, Pentecostal to be exact. And that was in itself sometimes could be very rigid, and you're told that all the mysticism and all these other things are like of the world and not inherently bad and all of these things, but he never subscribed to that, and neither did I. So I don't know, like to have him be able to pour into this book the way that he did, as a cathartic thing, also a celebration, like you said, of villains and good villains, and also just a celebration of the Black women in his life, those who raised him, his grandmother, his mother, his cousins, all of these folks, to kind of have them infused in some of these characters, his best friends back in Chicago. And like their camaraderie, and how he was able to truly get comfortable in his queerness as he got older thanks to them. Bytchcraft is just a love letter to all of these things.
Now, great answer. um, James, uh,
Yeah,
I ask of you, do you happen to remember the pitch
I do.
when he sold this to you?
Yeah, he sent it to us. And actually he came in through Stephanie. So Stephanie was the one who made the connection to Mad Cave, which is so thankful. And they sent it in. And I fell in love with it. I love witchcraft and magic and and queerness and all of that stuff. Like I grew up watching Buffy and The Craft, and I came late to Covenant, which is funny. But I love that movie. It's ridiculous camp, and fantastic. And I love the idea of having Black characters having this power and this magic, and and I think there's a good parallel between the reality of what we're all facing today and like also coming into power by using what people think is bad or evil. And I think it's really important. And I fought for this title because I was like, I think this is just like really important, and I think it's beautifully crafted. And just
Wait, are you
Bytchcraft.
saying that they like wanted you to switch the title name?
No, this was always the
Okay.
title name.
All
Bitch,
right,
it
gotcha.
came in, and that was, I mean, that almost sold it by itself because I was like,
Perfect.
done. I was like, this
Yeah.
title alone is like so good. I mean, Bytchcraft is like you can't. I mean, Aaron?
Yeah.
That's who would come up with that. It was so perfect. So yeah.
Mm. Now, how would you say, I guess in the genre, or better yet, if you can call it a genre, a subgenre, how witchcraft runs parallel to the ascension of this particular coven in this book? Anybody?
Ooh. Um, so like there has been this resurgence, right? Recently with Agatha all along. Buffy never goes away and is
And it's coming back
making,
again,
yes,
maybe.
making his own
Actually remaking it.
resurgence.
Knock on wood.
Yes. And then you have to not super recent, but recent enough with oh my God. American Horror Story,
Yes.
whatever season
Oh.
that is. That and
27.
then yes,
Yeah,
20,
probably.
yes, 100. And of course, Castlevania, Nocturne, all of these
Yeah.
shows, especially Castlevania Nocturne, because the mysticism that is used there by I'm blanking on the character's name. I don't know names
I
tonight,
know who you're
but
talking about too.
but it's rooted in her heritage and in her culture. So in that way, that is how I think of Bitchcraft. If anything, like if someone is looking for a representation of again just Black queerness and mysticism, like this is that. It came from someone who was a practicing witch themselves, Aaron, and it's undeniable, and it comes at the most perfect time as we are seeing this surge in how people actually paying attention to powerful women, and I am very thankful that they were able to expand that and give us some of the bits that we kind of get inside characters in these things, and
Yeah.
actually put them in the forefront, and they're there being just as amazing and hopefully gaining a cult following like all of these other things that I've mentioned. I mean, the craft still going strong.
Mm-hmm. Now, to rewind something that you said Aaron was
Yes,
practicing with.
yes. Hmm.
Really?
Absolutely. It's funny because very early on in our friendship, that was something that they would kind of talk about, not directly because they weren't sure how I would receive that. But I'm like, of course I received it. And they were like, well, yeah, because you don't know this, but you got some witchery in yourself too. So that is something that we definitely bonded over. Like they were the first to get me my first tarot card deck and all of these things, and really just I want to say, I guess, open my mind up, and also just my understanding of things that I myself tried to suppress because again, it's supposed to be wrong, it's not good, it's all these other negative things, but there being so much power in you know I don't living, being a practicing witch. So yes, Aaron definitely was. I remember when they came down to go to the Beyonce concert with me. It was a Renaissance tour.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, yeah, I went in the back to kind of make sure things were good around the house. And he was like, I don't know. They were like, I don't know what was in the backyard, but it did not appreciate me trying to, put some wards on the house. So I took that seriously. Like Aaron,
Right.
was someone who, like, when they manifested something, it just happened. And Bitchcraft again is just a perfect example of this.
Mm. James, to
Mm.
bring up the three in the coven, Adriel, Michelle, and M, each representative of heaven, earth, and hell. How would you feel when basically how this was discussed as far as like these three particular characters and so diverse that they are? What was the need to basically contemplate a partnership with these three being even though there's these heavy differences?
I mean, I think that sort of speaks to like being family and being found family and just like you don't always get along perfectly with everyone. And I think we see that a little bit in the story itself, is that there is a little bit of like, not like disagreement, but like, a little division between each of them and how they approach the world and their lives and what some feel and some others. And you'll have to read the story to find out more about that. But I think that, I think that's what makes it so interesting and so intriguing, because it is like such a character-driven story, and what makes us separate and different, but can also bring us together and make us stronger. And that's sort of what the goal is at the end, is to like bring their powers together and use them to create something called the sight, which is like the most powerful manifestation of their magics.
Mhm.
And I think that's just kind of a perfect summation of those three characters.
One of the big things that I read in the story was, if we're talking about them, their power manifesting, and also even in the occurrence of them making a mistake, causing this eclipse, and certain unnatural things start to happen once this eclipse occurs. People start turning against them. Magical things start running wild throughout the streets, and they are I guess, unnerved by what is particularly happening, but they understand that at some point in time, their togetherness is going to get them through this.
Mhm.
But also, there is a particular thing from the beginning of the story all the way, I'm going to say, probably till like maybe like the second part, which is the constant battle between the divine and the coven.
Mhm.
Now, how did that come about? What I wanted to be honest, I wanted to know what was going through Aaron's mind. That's what made this story really appealing to me, which was because you talked about it earlier, Stephanie, the him being brought up in a Pentecostal church, and this one particular character, Lady Genevieve, and how she is like, her power is beyond anything of this world, but yet she has a constant rivalry, I'm seeing, possibly, with Mother.
Mhm.
So, I believe that was Aaron working out um his loving but also complicated relationship with his grandmother and his mother.
Hmm.
Again, like going back to being raised in the church and being told like this is the thing that you're supposed to believe in. This is the thing that holds so much power, and it is the only thing that truly holds power. um but then knowing within yourself that you have your own divine power, and battling back and forth with that. So to me, like that's always been something that they were trying to just work through. And I would like to say that they did, because it comes out beautifully throughout this entire story.
Hmm.
But yeah, like this battle between the divine and the mysticism, and then also the fact that there often a lot of overlap, so much overlap,
Yeah.
in a way that sometimes neither can see, especially the divine at times. So Aaron was, trying to speak to, us recovering church kids that, you know, um, this is something that he was working through, and like I hope that others, pick up what they were putting down, because if anything, like that is relatable on
Hmm.
so many levels.
Right. Now, another thing that I want to bring up, this is for you, James. We talked about in the beginning of the book of Lady Genevieve, and
Mm.
especially towards the occurrence that she was creating a miracle, probably like in the first couple pages of this book. And I guess the word miracle can be can be skewed a little bit, and it made me think of the movie Nope,
Mm.
to where witnessing a miracle doesn't have to always be good or bad. And yet, like, the perception or the description of that miracle in the first couple pages could be somewhat indicator of what the coven is essentially going to create later on in the series. Would you say?
I mean, it's tricky because Genevieve's power and her origin is a little bit of a secret. So
Oh.
I don't want to spoil anything. But they're derived, she's derived from kind of a different source. So there's some interesting stuff that you'll find out more about her as the story progresses, but she's not a fan of magic users and she's not a fan of witches, which you find out, I mean, throughout the first issue. So her goals are pretty clear and diabolical. I think that's the nicest way I could put that. But yeah, she's she's a very interesting character and very well written. I'm a big fan of well written evildoer. So and she's just, I mean, I think there's lots of like interesting source material for her. I think there's a lot of like Cordelia from Buffy, and like you'll see a lot of that sort of, or like the White Queen from X-Men. Like there's like some really cool things that Aaron was pulling from to craft her. And I think I keep using the word craft. I can't stop. But there it is. But yeah, I think she's very intriguing. So I'm really excited for people to keep reading and finding out more about her.
Now, when you say the words she doesn't like magic, are you referring to jealousy?
I mean, I think that's part of it, but I think there's also, I think that's a big part of it. I think it is. I think, but she also truly thinks she's above it. And that's a really interesting part to her character, that she's just like above all of that. So I don't want to spoil anything.
No, no. Look, I feel like
I'm like trying to work around it.
I feel like I'm asking the right questions.
You are. You totally are. So
she is putting the bitch in bitchcraft.
Yeah.
I'm asking the right questions. I got it. So both of you, I guess I can put this towards the both of you. Both of you have had storylines to where you've intermingled with magic. Stephanie, you've had you did the adaptation of the Raven Boys. And James, you did I Am Hexed. So, you know, obviously the both of you tend to really like this field. Now, what would you say is your commonality, or better yet, your feelings toward mysticism?
So you know what's funny? At first I would often tell friend like I wasn't a fan of mysticism and fantasy as far as like in genre. And I was a liar, apparently. I was a fan of it. It was just in the form that it came in. And as of recently, we've gotten it that it looks way more diverse than it did before.
Okay.
So because of that, and through Aaron, I was able to really like start to lean into it and surprise myself. And I was like, oh, you've been lying to yourself this whole time. You do like this. Because even like during the Raven Boys working on that, Aaron was like a huge help. And just, you know, I think that was the first time I actually like was like, hey, so can you like teach me about tarot? Like, can we go over what is this like? I also think what was it? Scarlet Witch, and so the Vision and Scarlet Witch show that was airing around the same time.
WandaVision.
And yeah, WandaVision, and like really getting into that and completely understanding like, no, I've always really loved these things. It's just that you know, be it upbringing and then also just, I don't know, like not allowing myself to fully enjoy it. And then the limited not really seeing myself in it either. You know, Aaron really helped to change that. And I guess I've been in alignment this whole entire time and I was just in denial.
Heard that. James, how about you?
Well, I've always loved witches. I've been always a big fan. I think it's interesting because it's like growing up as a gay boy. I think we associate a lot with strong, powerful women in our media, because they're sort of othered. I was listening to this very interesting documentary series on YouTube where it's like that's why gay men totally like see themselves as through strong women, because it's like we can relate in terms of just feeling othered constantly by the patriarchal society that we all exist in. Anyway, very light. But so I think that like, you know, instantly I always loved seeing powerful women in both like like I grew up reading comic books, which included reading a lot of X-Men. and that was all about being marginalized and pushed aside. And Storm was my favorite character, but like Scarlet Witch was like right up there, and reading Avengers, and then the TV shows and movies happened, and it's just like following, and Buffy and Willow, and just like following these, and the Craft, and like all these women characters that really became a focal point and could show their power and weren't afraid to show their power. Um, and it was really like, I think that's why I've always been attracted to it. And I think of it as like such a strong parallel to like having to fight for civil rights and fight for our own rights and fight for our voices and things like that, which is a big part of what I Am Hex was about. Um, and so, yeah, I think that's just like a natural draw for me. Even though like Bitchcraft is really about these queer um, characters, these queer Black characters, which don't identify generally as feminine. But there's Michelle, who's very non-binary, and it's all kind of a construct.
Mm.
So that's what I really enjoy. I mean, I enjoyed that part of the story as well. It's like this fluctuation in this more modern view of what that means in witchcraft, and it's beautiful. I really like it. It's
Right.
great. They did a great job, Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron did a great job.
Definitely. Now, when we talk about the determination of these three within this coven and how the power of a queer friendship actually builds upon, I guess, the fortitude of these three going forward, how would you say that pretty much is essential to the book? Them necessarily not finding themselves solely individually, but yet through each other.
It's so important. Community, especially among other queer folks, is just it can be life-saving. Oftentimes it is. And I just really love that we get a chance to see Black queer friendship on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And it, because that was something that Aaron was a little worried about, that they would get a little flack for there not being, I guess, romance among the three, but that obviously can't happen because they're related. But also, it's just I don't know, like it's just important that that is being shown, and that we get to see that in just the beautiful way that Aaron had it. Like, because no, they don't always get along. They don't.
Right.
And that's okay. Sometimes being in community with folks is, standing, beside someone who has gotten on your last nerve. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, like, you've got their back and they have your back, even though you all have these disagreements. So I think that in itself is just very powerful, that they were able to have this friendship really shine through on the page. Like, I feel like when folks read it, they'll be like, "Oh, this reminds me of my friendship with so and so," because they just feel that real.
Mm. Excellent. Now, when we're talking about the stretch of this book, obviously, um, this is going to get released pretty soon. When we're talking about the series as a whole, how far did we get with this? How far did Aaron the totality of this? Was it 4, 6 issues? Like how big is this going to be?
It's 5 issues, and they wrote the whole thing. All the scripting was done,
Right.
which is really the only way I think that I would feel comfortable putting it out, because I think that they had such a clear vision of what they were looking for. And we were pretty far along in art. I think issue 4 was like more than maybe half completed. Um, so it really got very far, and their approval on everything was paramount. And I think all the covers were done. So they really had visually and aesthetically put their stamp on this book, which was so important. Um, and they brought in Bex Glendining, that was their pick. Luciano, who does the B variant cover, was the character designer for the characters in the book, and they did the B variant cover. Like all of these things that they just really knew the world that they were crafting. Oh
Mm.
God, I really have to stop. I can't. I really don't. I didn't even mean to do it that time, but they really did. They really had a clear idea of what they wanted the world to look like.
You know what? Because that was literally my next question. I was going to ask you exactly the creative team. As far as like, now are they going to be consistent throughout all these five issues, as well as like maybe like are we going to have some surprise variants?
I mean, the variants are usually for issue ones that we do for
Hmm.
Mad Cave, but if sales are there, we can always do more. Always love to do more variants. Would love to bring in more queer creators. That was the goal, to do all the covers with queer voices and queer creators. We have all the main covers are done by A.L. Kaplan, who's just a rising star. He's amazing. And then the B variant, as I said, was by Luciano. I'm going to mess up their last name.
It's quite all right.
Decchio? Decchio, I believe,
I think you
right?
got it right.
I
Yeah,
think
Sounds
that's right.
right.
I think you got
Yeah.
it right.
Nailed it. And then the the C variant, which is the Pride variant, is by Joshua Swabe, who I've been a huge fan of for so long. And I'm just beside myself that he did the Pride variant. It looks beautiful. So it's very exciting. But hopefully, yeah, I would love to do more. But yeah, those are the ones that are set right now for the first issue. And then the main covers are all done by A.L. Kaplan.
Mm. Um, the rollout. Obviously this is going to debut right in the middle of Pride Month. So for one thing, how do you feel once this essentially does get released? I know that there was specific details towards Aaron's family. They left a lot of quotes of obviously anticipating the release of the book. How do you feel the reception is going to be once this actually drops? This is going to get into the hands of a lot of readers out there. And how do you think Aaron would feel about this once this does happen?
Phew, okay, that is a question that might make me cry, but exceptionally proud because this project meant so much to him. Like I just remember, even the days that he was in pain, he would still get it done, and he was just so determined to get it done.
Hmm.
And I just remember him often asking, like, I hope that people love the story that I am telling because I am telling it as I want to. And as it's been put on me to tell, and I couldn't be anything but supportive and positive because I feel that way. I feel like when Bytchcraft hits the scene in the same way that Sinners most recently was so well received and loved by all who had taste. And and since Bytchcraft is going to be that because we have not seen anything like this before. And Aaron often thought that I was, just being a best friend and just telling them what they wanted to hear in
Hmm.
regards to that. But I always meant that because this is a book that, when Toni Morrison said to make the things that you want to see, like Bytchcraft is that. Like Bytchcraft is the epitome of Aaron Reese, their opulence, the way that they story tell, the fashion, the aesthetic, the marketing, because they were huge when it came to marketing. Like all of this is just so perfectly them. I have no doubt in my mind that it has no choice but to be received in the way that they would hope that it would, and to be iconic, which I believe it will be.
Totally appreciate that answer. Um, James, what made Mad Cave the best option for this book to drop?
Oh, Stephanie, I love you. Sorry.
Take your time.
Um, oh boy. I think that, oh God, I'm gonna lose it. Okay. So I think Matt Cave was the right choice because uh we really are always looking for the opportunity to expand both who we're working with and the creative way that we're doing books and who we're bringing on and what stories we're telling, and I thought like this would be something that would really hit the market in a different way and get different eyeballs, not just on Matt Cave, but on Aaron and what the story was trying to say. And I think it was important. And you don't always get that with comics. I think like comics get bad rap for not having a deeper message, which I don't think is true. I think a lot of them do, and I think a lot of them have important things to say. But I would count Bytchcraft among those. I would, that this has some important things to say. And Aaron said them beautifully. So yeah.
Excellent. For one, I appreciate the both of you for having the chance to talk with me about this particular project. Me, I'm a heterosexual man, but I enjoy the story, and I wanted to see a lot more of this. That's why
Yeah.
I asked for the interview.
Yeah.
I enjoy very thought-provoking, pivotal storylines that hit hard, especially when in the terms of friendship, and especially in the aspect of what it means to have camaraderie with one another. And I feel like this book, regardless of what your orientation might be, touches on that.
Really.
So thank you both. This has been awe-inspiring. Thank you, Stephanie, for your words. Thank you, James, for being here. And of course, for everybody here at the FAQs Project, myself, James Emmett, Stephanie Williams, thank you, everybody here, for joining us. And we will see you next time. We are out.